of Kenya through the Ministry of Environment and Forest on the steps that we need to take so that we can deal with the challenge that currently exists of the management of our forest resources, the degradation of our water catchment areas, the exploitation and over-exploitation of our both indigenous and plantation forests around the country. And I have told the task force this morning that this is not a PR exercise. In the past, we've had exercises that end up being photo ops and publicity stunts of planting one tree here and 2 trees there, and that ends there. The task force has a very clear mandate that we have close to 120,000 of plantation forest that have no trees. We have almost a similar amount of indigenous forests that have no trees. We have another almost 3 million acres of land that need to be planted with trees. And the task force has the duty now to tell us and recommend to government one alternative sources of mobilizing resources for the purposes of ensuring that all these degraded areas are restored. At least the almost 500,000 acres of unplanted forest area is planted, and what alternative sources of funding using international best practice can Kenya access so that we can discharge our responsibility to the citizens of this country and play our role in matters of climate change, ensuring that we make a contribution as a country to the management of the global economy, of the global environment. Although climate change is a global phenomenon, we understand that as a country, we have a duty to make a contribution, or our contribution, towards mitigating the effects of climate change. And that is why this task force has been constituted. I have also informed the task force that the government of Kenya is approaching this issue with open minds, and we want them to be open-minded to look at all options. Let us put all options on the table. We know to be able to achieve the proper management of our forest resources, some sacrifices have to be made. And the government of Kenya is prepared, willing, and able to make those sacrifices. We understand that there is a huge industry built around our forest resources that employs Kenyans, provides commerce, taps into our economy. But if the recommendations that will come will be such that we ask industry to look for alternative sources of forest resources, including importation, including other alternatives, including plantation farming, those recommendations are welcome to the government of Kenya. I have also informed this task force to look at all the alternatives and to tell us whether it is tenable for us to continue to have plantation forests inside gazetted natural forests. And if there is a conflict between continuing to have plantation forests inside gazetted either community or government or state forests, and whether we should relocate those plantation forests outside the gazetted areas, we as a government are prepared so that we can replace all plantation forests inside our gazetted forests with indigenous forests and indigenous trees. So these are all the options we have given to this task force. Matters to do with funding, how to raise resources, what are the alternative sources of forest resources, and how do we participate and mobilize all the resources around the country and mobilize all the stakeholders to participate in matters to do with the management of our forests and the use of our forest products. I've also told them to look at how we can mobilize any intervention, all interventions, how we can get the Shamba system, for example, mobilize Kenyans to plant these trees, how that can happen, how can it be better managed, what they need to do about what the law provides at the moment, that there need to be coexistence between forests and communities. Under the current law, we have community forest associations, how we need to strengthen community forest association around the country for better management of these forest resources, and what role these community associations can play in securing and in ensuring that our forests are managed in a sustainable manner. I have told them also to look at ways how, although we have set for ourselves to get to the 10% threshold provided for in our Constitution, whether we can get to that 10% in a shorter time than the time we have set ourselves by the year 2030. I have told them that they need to look at ways and means of us maybe changing the narrative that exists at the moment about 2022 so that it doesn't become the political narrative about 2022, but the environmental narrative about 2022, that we can get 10% forest cover by the year 2022. That will be much more useful than the current debate that is going on around the country. So that instead of 2030, we can have 10% forest cover by the year 2022, and it is possible if we mobilize all the stakeholders and resources available to us towards this effort. So I have told this team, and let me repeat, that you have the support of the President, of myself, the government of Kenya, you have our goodwill, and judging from the public, you have every Kenyan behind you in recommending to us the better ways of managing our forest resources and our environment. Madam Chair, we are confident that your team, which is made of very eminent Kenyans, have all it takes to deliver on this national patriotic mandate that has been given to you. And you have our goodwill and support. Thank you very much. Asanteni sana.
Thank you. My name is Dan Kaburu from K24. My question is, the 14 days, are they enough for the task force to come up with the report that we are expecting?
Any other?
Andrew Ching from NTV. To the Deputy President, you have been criticized with this initiative because in the past, and you've criticized the initiative by the former Prime Minister in the restoration of the Mao, as now that your efforts may not be very genuine. What do you say about that?
One more and then the answer.
My name is Shadrach Miti from KTN News. I have a question to Mr. Tobiko. we understand from the previous experiences, forest management has been an issue of politics. And even as you set up this task force, how confident are you that you are going to sail this boat through this situation to the desired destination? And from where you sit, are you confident that the Kenya Forest Service is capacitated enough to tackle any challenges as far as forest management is concerned?
Your Excellency, we can take those three first.
Okay. My name is Galgalo from Daily Nation, and my question is to the CS. As the former DPP in terms of legislation, we've seen Kenyans doing all sorts of things in terms of forest deforestation out of the country, from Lamu all the way to upcountry area. Our legislation enough to deal with those errant individuals who might cross the red line?
Questions addressed, directed at me. Am I confident about the politics? Yes. I am more than assured and reassured. Indeed, this initiative came about upon the instruction and directives of the presidency, as the president through the deputy president. There cannot, and he has repeated it here, he has repeated it behind closed doors to the task force. There cannot be a more clear and ambiguous endorsement. So I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that as far as political goodwill, we have it. Now, on the issue about 14 days, again, the reason why 14 days was settled on is because of the imperatives of the moment. We negotiated with the members and the government, and we agreed that they deliver their preliminary report within 14 days, and then their final report within 30 days. Again, because of the exigencies of the moment. Time is not on our side. And this, I have no doubt whatsoever, that this task force has the capacity and has the will and ability to deliver within the timelines. Regarding the law and the enforcement of the law, that is one of the TORs of the task force. Again, we will subject all legislation, including the Forest Act, to a serious review to determine whether there are areas that require immediate review to enhance penalties, and as regards the institutional capacity of KFS and others, that is also a matter that will be subject of inquiry by the task force. They appreciate the urgency, and I believe that part of the preliminary report would precisely be on those subjects. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other question for me? I think, or the question that was asked by my friend from KTN is sufficient. Okay. Because there is no other question for me, let me answer the question that was about criticism. I want to tell my friend, criticism is part of national discourse. So, and criticism helps us to improve on what we are doing, and it is positive feedback from the public. But having said that, that is why I made the earlier statement that this exercise, and to be able to sort out the challenge that we face as a country on matters management of our forests, matters environment, matters degradation and reforestation, and what we need to do are very serious matters. They are not matters for photo ops and publicity stunts, as we have seen in the past. What we have seen in the past is people going to Mau, planting 2 trees, making big statements, and leaving. And that is why we continue to have 500,000 acres in many of our water catchment areas unplanted. Let me also put the record straight that my own track record on matters environment, I encourage you to do an investigation on my personal record on matters environment. And you will come to the conclusion that this effort is actually going to succeed. And let me say one more thing, that in the past, now, and in the future, we are opposed to brutality meted out on citizens while we are managing any part of our resources, including the management of our forest. We were against it in the past. We are against it now. We will resist it in the future, any brutality. But let me also tell you that in the last 2 years, and Mr. Mugo is here from KFS, we have removed close to 3,000 invaders in both the Mau, Embobut, and some of our other forests without the spectacle of brutality on citizens. We have achieved measures that have actually removed illegal settlers in our forests without using brute force. So it is possible to manage our resources in a better way, but also in a humane manner. And those are the principles of any constitutional government. So I think I've answered your yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, good people. Have a wonderful day. Waziri, good luck.